Yep. Oh, it's a kind of a, so when he takes the pass, it's just the first bunch.
My impression was that the way Hank is talking, you know, if like within 3 months, then we just continue that list. But if there's a period of time that goes by, then we go right back to the top of the list.
I need a job like Matt Nagy. Like I could really suck and then like still not lose my job and be a millionaire.
Nah, because that's got too much pressure.
Nah, dude, that's fine. Just do it for.
I want to be a weatherman because
maybe
you can not get there. You can go on. You don't have to be right. You can always say something. You know, the wind shifted or whatever. You get paid lots of money.
So
and you are right only 50% of the time.
I didn't see anything.
Whereas Nagy's got to deal with truss, planes, fans, and that's too much like a headache.
Lee, did you get your baby
baptized? Yeah, I did.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's always a good feeling.
After the COVID delay.
But maybe he'll quit being an offensive coordinator like he did last year.
When it worked and then went back.
Why he became retired himself.
Yeah, bad personnel decisions.
When they get the water valve,
That's the capability of being
I just wanted a reasonable answer to
doing something like that.
I'm sure.
but only if they were asking.
All right, 7 p.m. Staff will be ready to launch the meeting electronically. Are we good? Okay, just check it. I'm doing a technology check, so I'm adding it to my checklist before we convene a meeting. So we'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Would everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance as directed by our Boy Scout Troop 95.
Audience attention, color guard attention. Color guard forward march. Hand salute. Color guard, halt. Prepare to post the colors. Post the colors. Will you now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will you now join me in Scout oath, law, and outdoor code? On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep yourself strong, and in any way more strength. A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. As an American, my best. Conservation-minded. 2. Color guard forward, reform ranks. Color guard forward, march. Audience, you may now be seated. Color guard dismissed. Thank you.
you so much. I don't know if we've ever had a bugle open up our meeting before like that before, so that was really great. If the scouts would please come up as I call your name, we have a certificate for your participation in tonight's meeting. So could I have Gavin come up first? Gavin didn't make it. Got it, not a problem. Is Ryan here? Got Anthony? We have Jared. Sebastian? Corbin? Connell? Aiden? Thank you. I'll give you these two. Absolutely. Thank you so much again. We'll move to roll call.
Mayor Pulaski,
Here.
trustee Berkshire,
Here.
trustee Delapenna,
Here.
trustee Domke,
Here.
trustee Lanisa. Here. Trustee Perkowski,
Here.
trustee Trejo,
Here.
you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We'll move to presentation of the prepared agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. Move to village board public comment. Anyone wishing to provide comment on a topic or an agenda item may address the village board during public comment. By submitting comments in advance using the online form or during the meeting. Madam Clerk, do we have any submitted in advance?
None submitted in advance.
Thank you so much. Is there any member of the public here today that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move to officials and staff reports. Under mayor's report, I do have a new business to recognize. So we have Wisdom Care Dental. Are they here tonight with us? Absolutely, please come up. I'd like to present you this welcome and appreciation plaque. And if you would like to tell the audience about your business and where you're located.
Hello, my name is Matthew Fawn, and I'm a owner and general dentist at Wisdom Care Dental. Both my wife and I, who's also a dentist, recently acquired the dental practice from a retiring dentist, Dr. Philip Freistack. It's on the corner of Roselle and Irving Park Road, so not that far from here. But yeah, we're a family practice. We focus on everything from exams, cleanings to, a little bit more complex procedures like root canals, braces, Invisalign, implants, whitening, I guess, too. But yeah, we kind of focus on, one patient at a time, try not to rush it. We've worked at other practices where, we might see like 5 patients in 1 hour. And so it's been a nice change to just kind of take our time and just focus on one patient at a time. So appreciate the time you guys gave me here. I just wanted to introduce ourselves, but I guess nothing crazy. We're just a dental practice. So
No, we're welcome to the village. We love having small family-owned businesses in town. So many years of success to you. And
Thank you.
let me give you this.
thank you.
I just wanted to thank Patty for joining me Sunday for the grand opening of Five Spice Kitchen on Lake Street. So that's the owners of Silver Lake. They opened up this business and kind of shut down Silver Lake. So this is their new venture. So great new facility. It's right next to the bowling alley. So they renovated that entire building. So it was great to see that investment and transformation of a space that used to actually be a dentist's office. So I guess, you win one, you lose one. So that's it for my mayor's report. So I'll go to village trustees. Well, I just kind of assumed you would say something about what you guys did over the weekend. So I wanted to give you that opportunity, Wayne, but do you want me to embarrass you?
You could do it, embarrass me.
All right, well then I guess one last thing, want to recognize the Roselle Sister Cities and specifically Joan and Wayne Donkey for receiving the Sister Cities of Illinois Award this year on behalf of our organization. I think that really speaks volume that Roselle has I know it's a world class, but now we're officially a state class organization that's really representing our community well. So great recognition and well deserved by everyone. So
I will say though, the teamwork was that the village was from the inception supportive, and they still remain today supportive, and And that adds a lot of value to what we're doing, so you know.
Absolutely. So we'll plan to have them here to recognize the whole organization, but did want to give you a shout out. So
I didn't want to overdo it.
that's fine. Sometimes you got to celebrate, right? We'll move to village clerk report.
All right, I have two items to share with you. First is we're in the kind of countdown for our Winterfest event, which is December 4th. This is in place of Cocoa Crawl. So we have created a new event. It follows kind of the same track as Cocoa Crawl, just without the cocoa. But it's lots of activities, entertainment, it's family fun. And so now is the time that I need trustees who want to participate to commit to some time on that day. And it's December 4th from 2 to 5. So you can email me if you're available, and I will have some jobs available for you. Secondly, I'm also selling raffle tickets, $20 a piece. These raffle tickets are for the scholarship raffle for the municipal clerks of Illinois, which provides the training for all clerks to get their certification. These, the drawings are daily, $20 a day, and the tickets are $20. So you have lots of chances to win, and when your ticket gets pulled, it gets thrown back in. And myself and Liz have both benefited from the scholarship already, and I have benefited multiple times. So it's a great thing to support. And if you'd like to buy a ticket, just let me know. And that's my report. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Village attorney? Thank you. Village administrator?
No report.
Treasurer?
Which one first? The other one. Okay.
Okay. Good evening. The treasurer's report in your agenda packet is through August 31st, and that marks now we're 2/3 of the way through the fiscal year. Sorry, I lost the mouse there. There it is. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things. No, there's no PowerPoint. So there wasn't a lot going on in August. It's kind of a quiet month for us, but sales tax continues to be up 6% higher through when you compare to 2019. Again, I'm using 2019 because that was prior. So 2019 was a good year, and we're at 6% higher January through August of 2019. Eating tax is 6.7% higher than that same time period. And some of the revenues of the month, vehicle stickers, we sold 4,344 stickers for a total of $175,000. Stickers are due September 30th. So please, if you're listening, get them into the mailbox or our drop box. We'll get them out to you. And then building permits, if you notice in the report, there was $67,000 for the month. And that was mainly due to one large permit application for a commercial remodel. So excited to see that, not only for the permits that are brought in, but the opportunity for that business that's going into town. And then finally, we also received the $1,526,000 from the American Rescue Plan. And I just wanted to show that really quickly in case you did not see that. And we did create a new fund. And that is the American Rescue Plan Act Fund. It's a capital projects fund, and that money was deposited into that fund in August. And we'll be recording any, I have that up there on the screen, and we have it, we'll be recording any expenditures for that money. We'll get another payment next year of the exact same dollar amount for a little over $3 million. And then finally, I just wanted to really quickly show you the sales tax numbers and a couple other things, just so you can see the comparison. So sales tax has been up nearly 30% each month over the last several months. And then when you look at local use tax, that has been dropping by a similar amount. And so the local use tax is actually going back to what it used to be, which is more online, but also things that are self-reported by residents, and then it gets put out as on a per capita basis, whereas sales tax is more of where it's delivered. So if you're getting deliveries to your house, that money is going directly to the village. So local use tax is going back down to where it was, but sales tax is continuing to decline. With that, I'll answer any questions anybody might have.
Any questions from the board for Tom? All right, you're getting off easy this time. Thank you, Tom. We want to bring you back from vacation easily. So.
Yeah, that was a rough day today.
Thank you so much. It's always good to see these kinds of figures coming back.
I know, but it's minimized completely. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
All right, we're going to move to unfinished business next, starting with the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, or non-controversial in nature. Will be enacted in one motion. There will also be no discussion of these items. Today on the consent agenda, we have presentation approval of the village board meeting minutes of September 13th, 2021. Adopt a resolution affirming the purchase of 9 vehicles in the amount of $324,528. Adopt a resolution affirming the purchase and installation of 2 vehicle upfitting in the amount of $94,812 through the joint purchasing cooperative Sourcewell. And adopt a resolution affirming the purchase and installation of 2 vehicle upfittings in the amount of $7,693. Do you have a motion to approve? Do you have a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries. We'll now move to community development. Trustee Berkshire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, let's start by opening the continued public hearing for the annexation of 556 Lincoln Street.
All those, and do we need to do a roll? No. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? The motion carries.
Thank you. And since we covered the public hearing in the last, we will go immediately to making a motion to close the public hearing for the annexation of 556 Lincoln Street.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Yes.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries.
Before I make my motion on 9C, I believe the village administrator has a few comments he'd like to make.
Thank you, Bruce. I just wanted to kind of summarize, since the board's had several meetings, they've had 3 separate board meetings and discussed the annexation and had another meeting where they discussed annexation requirements set forth in village code. So over the course of these meetings, a lot of issues and topics were discussed. So I just wanted to kind of summarize and propose the following: that staff will summarize the key takeaways from these meetings in an internal memorandum that'll be provided to the board. The memo will serve as a record of the discussion, direction, and kind of intent behind some of the various topics and issues. Apart from slight modifications to the village code that will be brought back to the board at a future meeting, the board did not recommend changing the requirement that sidewalks be installed as part of an annexation by the property owner. The board directed staff to update its operating procedures and annexation application to ensure the costs of annexation are transparent at the earliest stage in the process and afford applicants the opportunity to meet with staff to discuss sidewalk installation requirements. Staff will no longer provide estimates, but instead direct applicants to obtain proposals from contractors. Applicants also are responsible for other costs as part of annexation, such as recapture fees, fire protection district disconnection fees, water and sewer tap-on fees, as well as costs for installing sidewalks and also installing water and sewer lines as applicable. These costs can be barriers to annexation. It can also put financial pressure on applicants. As a result, staff is currently evaluating the numerous recapture agreements that are currently in place in the village that are triggered by annexations. The board could consider eliminating or reducing these recaptures to lessen the costs on property owners annexing into the village. And staff hopes to have its initial findings presented to the board by the second meeting in October. And finally, staff's looking into a grant program that could be created to further offset costs for property owners annexing into the village. And staff is evaluating both funding options as well as eligibility requirements. That kind of, to me, summarizes staff's key takeaways of the board's previous conversations, and just wanted to ensure that that's in alignment with the board's previous discussions.
And then I'd like to add that because of this address, because of the situation that all of this has come up, so I'd like to thank you for allowing us and bearing down at the time that we've had to extend this for you, but also included in those notes will be specifically any of the conversations we had on your property, that being 556 Lincoln Street. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to pass an ordinance authorizing the execution of an annexation agreement for 556 Lincoln Street.
Thank you so much. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a roll call vote.
Trustee Berkshire.
Yes.
Trustee Trejo.
Aye.
Trustee Prokowski.
Aye.
Trustee Lanisa.
Aye.
Trustee Delapenna.
Aye.
And Trustee Domke.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Thank you. And so I'd like to make a motion to pass an ordinance annexing territory to the village of Roselle, DuPage and Cook counties, Illinois, and establishing R2A single-family residence district zoning and amending the zoning map.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. Roll call, please.
Trustee Berkshire.
Yes.
Trustee Trejo.
Aye.
Trustee Lanisa.
Aye.
Trustee Delapenna.
Aye.
Trustee Domke.
Aye.
And Trustee Prokowski.
Aye.
That motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is it for community development.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience. Administration, we do not have anything for you, Trustee Prokowski, tonight. Fire, Trustee Trejo, nothing. Police, Trustee Delapenna. We'll move to Public Works, Trustee Domke.
Oh, this is gonna be a long one. Okay, we got a bunch of them here. I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for design engineering services for the 2022 Waterman Replacement Program between the Village of Roselle and Engineering Enterprises Incorporated in the amount of $84,133.
There's a second. Oh, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries.
And Mr. Mayor, I have another one here to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the purchases of 3 effluent check valves for the Boderment Wastewater Treatment Plant from Jim Jolly's sales in the amount of $14,324.61.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I wanted to just mention something that
Yeah.
I talked to Karen about is that because the price was different, I just wanted to make sure that the manufacturer of that check valve was a quality item. And she reassured me for the board's sake that that's part of the vetting that they do when they do this stuff. So it's not just a cheaper item, it's a good quality item at a lower price. So wanted to share that with everyone.
Thank you so much. Any other discussion? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion carries.
I also would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the Village of Roselle and Dama, is that how I say, Dama Mechanical Incorporated for the installation of 3 check valves at the Boderment Wastewater Treatment Plant in the amount of $11,888.
There's a second. Oh, thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? That motion passes.
Continuing to spend money like we do, I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an extension to a contract between the Village of Roselle and ALM Group for snow and ice removal services.
We missed
We
one.
missed one, but we can do this one and we'll just go back.
And then go do 13D.
All right. So just so everyone's clear, we're on 13E.
Oh, I missed one?
That's, we'll go back to it. We'll go back to it. We've got that motion
I'm not used to
and,
spending this much money at one time.
we've had far worse public works ones before.
I'll second
We have
13D.
a first and a second.
Any discussion on the contract extension for ALM Group for 1 year?
Of course, I do have something that.
Absolutely.
The extension for 1 more year, but I would really hope that next year we go out for bid, just to keep everything on the up and up. I'm sure ALM has given us a good deal, but we need to compare them to other services. But so next year, I would say we should not have an extension.
All right. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries. And then if we go back to 13D.
Okay, I will do that, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion on 13D to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a contract between the Village of, I thought I read this one.
There's two. There's two.
Above it's almost identical.
Okay. To execute a contract between the Village of Roselle and Dama Mechanical Incorporated for purchase and installation of 2 effluent gates. Oh, the gates, yeah, at the Boderment Wastewater Treatment Plant in the amount of $35,888.
All right. Any discussion?
Another reason that we do not want the EPA coming at us, so we put in the new gates.
Yeah, there you go. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? And that motion carries. Anything else tonight, Trustee Domke?
Not sure, David, I'm not sure. But I'll take your word for it.
Sounds good. Finance, Trustee Lanisa.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the accounts payable list for September 27th of 2021 in the amount of $1,264,155.89.
Second.
Any discussion on the bills list? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? That motion carries.
I'd also like to make a motion to adopt a resolution expressing official intent regarding the certain capital expenditures to be reimbursed from the proceeds of 1 or more obligations to be issued by the Village of Roselle, DuPage, and Cook County, Illinois.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, that motion passes. All right, we'll move to new business. We do have a second opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to make a comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to our first item, the Cook County No Cash Bid Program. Brian?
Good evening. So the old gas station, the old Marathon gas station, commonly known as 403 North Roselle Road, is eligible for a no cash bid program from Cook County, which is an economic development tool that can be used for tax exempt entities such as the village to apply for vacant parcels that are delinquent in their tax payments to acquire the property for redevelopment purposes. So we wanted to get direction from the board to apply for this program. And in doing so, it requires a resolution that needs to be adopted that we would bring back for the board approval at the next meeting on October 11th. And then we wouldn't know necessarily the outcome of acquiring the parcel, most likely till either early 22 in February. There's a scavenger sale that's scheduled for November of this year, or as late as fall of 2022, just due to the fact that there is a municipal lien on the property due to the demolition of the structure that was there. And that requires an over-the-counter process rather than the county bidding it on a live auction. So we have to wait for a subcommittee window of opportunity to occur, but staff is prepared to set in the application and then keep you informed on the process and everything else. Along with the recommendation to just apply for the program, we are also recommending that soil testing be done on the village right-of-way along Devon Avenue, just because there were incidents of leakage that occurred in the late 90s that were remediated, and they did receive a no further remediation letter from the IEPA that no further leakage or soil contamination existed. However, because of such a time lapse, we would like to conduct at least 5 borings on the village right away to ensure that no further pluming has occurred. So also attached to the memo is a second engineering proposal, and that just shows the potential remediation of the removal of the 3 tanks that currently exist on the property if the village does in fact acquire it and considers it for redevelopment.
With that being said, yeah, trustee Berkshire.
So I'm concerned about this because you got a bore in Roselle Road. That was the whole reason why we didn't want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. Because if we start digging in there and we find that there's soil contamination, we can go all the way under Roselle Road, which now becomes a county problem. So that's why we left this the way it was. And now we're all of a sudden we're looking to go buy this property because we tried getting rid of it through the owners themselves. So you're just going to bore on Devon, then I think you were making a misjudgment. You need to bore all around that thing, because what happens if it's also leaking towards the properties in the back? That thing has been like that for 20-something years, and those tanks are not any good anymore. So,
which is an option. It's owned by the county, so we'd have to obtain permits. So we could entertain the proposal to include soil borings on the county right away. We would just need their permission to do so. I would like to highlight also that we can pull out of the bid program at any time. So if there is in fact some sort of environmental issue that's brought up by the soil testing, we can pull out of the program before any type of decision is made to go further to collect the deed.
as long as we're going to do all the boring and all the soil testing all around, at least all 3 sides of it, because the 4th is you can't really bore because it's too high, then I would be okay with something like this. And then come back any kind of results that are going to be negative, then we just simply leave the property as the owners, whoever have it, somebody in India somewheres that we can't ever find.
We also have a recommendation, Bruce, to do on-site. Because that was one of the issues of litigation when we went after them for the tear down. As you've indicated, the leaking underground storage tanks are on site. And after they remediated around the property, which was successful at that time, I believe they left those tanks in place. And the EPA said no further remediation is necessary. But the reason that no further remediation is necessary is those tanks are currently protected by what's called an engineered barrier. And the engineered barrier is essentially the concrete and the asphalt that's on top of those tanks pursuant to the ordinary drive-through areas that existed for the gas station at the time. We have a very extensive file in our office on this. Brian asked me to pull the file, and we are going to pull it and look at it, and can give you a better idea after we do that as to what may be underground on site. Because I remember that was the reason that the bank didn't complete the foreclosure on the property, because they didn't want it.
Right.
They got a judgment in foreclosure, but they never proceeded to sale. And it's because when they looked at it, it was like, uh-oh, we got lots of trouble with this site, and they didn't want to become responsible for the environmental remediation. So Brian's asked us to look at that. We will look at that and bring back a summary report to the board on what we think may exist on the site itself, as opposed just to the area around the site.
And if I may, for the new board members, there was also a bunch of different sales that were trying to go on. I mean, they were trying to sell this property for $1 and no one would buy it because of the situation. We also thought about putting grass down there, and that we said couldn't because of that concrete barrier. Then we thought about putting dirt on top of the concrete to put grass. We couldn't do that because of the retaining or the grade onto the north of it, because that would just wash all the dirt away. So that's why it is in the state it is because there's a lot of situations with that property, which is why I'm very hesitant about doing anything other than we'll test it. And if it's good, then we can consider it. Otherwise, I'd let that just sit there and rot. I know it's an eyesore, start putting pots on top of it.
Trustee Domke?
I understand that you can get the process going and you can pull out at any time. So,
Yep.
you know, from a consensus point here, maybe we could say you could get the process going. I really agree. I was living with it just with, so it was Bruce, that I talked to Karen this morning too. If we owned the thing, we got to take those tanks out because you just couldn't expect them to be safe forever. And then I think it would be a very highly marketable corner of the village for maybe a couple of different people that might be interested in putting something up there. But getting over this first hurdle, like what Bruce just mentioned, is tantamount to this actually happening. So
as far as we know, the initial phase 2 wasn't bad enough to trigger a phase 3, right?
It never went to phase
Never got
2
to
because
that.
there was a remediation after phase 1 surrounding the property.
That's as far as it got.
And the IEP was willing to issue a no remediation letter on site because of the engineered barrier without any further testing. But there was leaking underground storage on site, even with the barrier. They just needed to know whether it was there or not, and it was there.
Skip Perkowski?
I'm going to go kind of a different way. And I think either way, we should probably take this property because if there is an environmental problem, I don't think the solution is leave it sitting there to get worse.
One of the things that the analysis will do, the diligence will do on this is it'll give you some idea of how extensive the problem is, because I think everybody would like to clean it up. The question is, how much is it going to cost? And if you can clean it up and, you know, essentially break zero on the sale value of the property, then you may say, we're going to go ahead and do that. On the other hand, if it's going to cost more to clean it up than you could ever get in the sale, then that's a much more difficult decision for you to make from a policy standpoint. But you could go in that direction, Tom, if you wanted to, and the rest of the board wants to. So I think the diligence is necessary to better understand those options.
Any further debate from the board? Yes, Trustee Lanisa.
So if you start with the boring and you find out there's a problem and you say we can back off of the whole thing, do we now have a different scenario? Because once you know something is wrong, do we have an obligation any further?
No, and the answer for that, the reason for that is because we don't own it.
Okay.
And non-owners do not have an obligation to remediate.
But there's no disclosure that we need to, at that point, take it a step further?
No. The disclosures occur when you go in and you start to want to buy and pull permits for work and things like that. You know, and essentially what the primary concern is the leakage of the plumes into the water table. That's where the real issue lies. Even though we're on Lake Michigan water now, it doesn't matter.
well, even going into Turner's Pond, if it leaks into there, now you got the drainage. EPA would get us on too. If it was.
Yep, gotta be careful.
And I would go out on a limb to say, depending on what we find out, we might want to engage with other agencies, right? I think what we find out, we can certainly raise our concerns about this being detrimental and damaging to our community. And so depending on what we learn, we might want to reach out to other, you know, groups that have larger jurisdictions than us to see if there's any support or assistance they could provide due to its proximity to Turner. I don't know what those agencies could provide, what they would do or not do, but I think we can start to advocate and at least see what options may exist. And that was going to be one of my questions actually is, do we think I think it sounds like first and foremost, there's consensus that we should start the process, but report back when we find out the initial kind of studies from the boring. But if we were to find something, is there any program that could help absorb some of the cost of remediation if we need to? And
Yes, there is, and it's part of that analysis process. It's been used in the past, and that's a lost program, and I'm sure our engineers can speak better on it than me, but there is a case for doing the soil testings and getting reimbursement from the state through that program, specifically for underground storage tanks.
That's for the testing. You said testing.
It's for different scopes of the work that's involved. So that includes the testing, the analysis, the laboratory results, the remediation, the removal. You submit a proposal and a budget, and then based on that criteria, you get approved or denied.
Trustee Trejo?
Yes, I agree with you. We should, look into this no cash bid program. The two questions I have, it seems like this is the case, but I just want to make sure. So if we do get the deed to the property and we resell it, there would be no taxes owed by that new buyer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yep.
No taxes owed. You just, you got to have the big picture of the economics of the
Right,
site.
yeah.
to make
But-
a decision.
But I think that's one of the barriers right now, right? No one wants to pay like the 250K, or now it's probably like 700K or whatever at this point that's owed. And then the other thing is, I would say, would that be TIF eligible too, to use TIF money to clean up the site?
Is it in the TIF district?
I believe
It is.
Okay,
is.
So you could, yes. The answer is you can use TIF funds for environmental remediation.
Okay. So yeah, so I mean, I'm definitely supportive of taking a look at this. I mean, I think at the end of the day, no developer is going to buy it now because the taxes owed on it. And then the other potential is obviously the environmental cleanup aspect of it. So I mean, you're basically in like a no-win situation. If you ever want that corner developed, I mean, we need to take ownership of it and probably remediate it with either TIF money or grant money or something else. So, but to Bruce's point, I mean, it's good to know, like, what we're looking at.
So I'm gonna just double check. So it sounds like everyone's in agreement, continue to move forward with the initial borings, and then we want to have a report back before we go any further to make sure that we're comfortable with the risks that have been uncovered, any open-ended questions, and maybe some additional information regarding the grant program, and also what we think the TIF could provide financial support, so we can maybe have some numbers we can look at. Is that fair?
Mayor, if I may, I want to be very specific because this all talks about the bond boring. I am talking all three sides of that property.
So,
Yep.
correct.
So we'll reach out and we'll see what permits we need and what options we have to get a different scope of the proposal for phase one, and we'll answer those questions.
And I would assume then the total is gonna be updated, but the board's comfortable with that cost. I'm gonna assume we'll rough it up and times it by 3 to account for 3 different sides. Is that everyone comfortable with that amount? All right, so you can put it on the agenda safely then. Thank you. Moving.
That's TIF eligible then too, these costs from the.
Correct.
Yes.
All right, we'll move to purchase of roof replacement. So Public Works Director Karen Young.
All right, good evening. So the next item is regarding roof replacements. We've been doing a lot of investigation on all of our village facilities to evaluate the existing conditions, focusing mainly on roofs for the most part right now due to several leaking conditions we have at some of our facilities. So we're here tonight to discuss that and also get feedback regarding moving forward with the partial replacement of the fire department roof and the partial replacement at Village Hall yet this fiscal year. So as mentioned, we've been evaluating the future needs, trying to evaluate the impacts to our capital budget moving forward with all of the facility needs. We've brought in a company through Garland Roofing, or through Garland, that actually did nuclear testing of the roofs, which tells us really what moisture level we have underneath the roofs. And what's important on that is we always want to replace a roof before all the underlying insulation gets wet, because once that gets wet, it really starts to double the cost of our future projects. So we did proceed to do that this year, and does help us lay out our future projects. But what it did come back and tell us is that at the Village Hall lower roof, which is right outside the entrance to Village Hall, and the roof over the living quarters at the fire department is really in need of replacement sooner than later. And they're actually recommending that to be done in this current fiscal year. And the reason being is if we go one more season with a roof in there, they're concerned that's going to start getting down into the insulation layer, which would then cost us about double to replace that next year. So with that information, we've been working with Garland who is a cooperating purchasing program. And they did that work out. We just got the bid results back today. The cost of the fire department lower roof is $140,695. And the cost for the lower level fire department, or lower level village hall is $10,952. We have been looking at our budget, and I think that Tom has some information, or Jason, did you guys have any information regarding that you want to discuss regarding funding?
So I handed out to the board just kind of what our working budget is for next year. So these numbers are, our estimates for 2021. We just kind of wanted to walk through so you have an idea of what we're looking to spend this year and kind of what we have teed up for next year, just based on funding available. So on that front page, I highlighted the transfer from the general fund of the $750,000, which the board authorized at mid-year. And then you'll see the second item, kind of third item from the bottom, buildings at $326,550 reflects doing these roofs. So we were already estimating that as part of our 2022 budget preparation. So if you turn that over, then you'll kind of see for 2021, we had about $1.5 million in expenditures as part of the approved budget. And we're looking now at more like $1.6 million. And really the difference is that we have maybe the roofs, but there's also the unbudgeted expense for the JEA property up at the train station, which ultimately will be reimbursed by TIF, but that's part of the Metro 19 project. So the difference there of about $100,000 of our estimate over our budget. And then you'll see ending fund balance for this year about 1.26 million. And then you look to the next number to the right, which right now we're at basically no fund balance this time next year based on our capital needs for next year. But those numbers will change. We'll be spreading some of these projects out over multiple years. So I just wanted, when we tell you there's enough money, I just want to sometimes show you the numbers to make sure you see it in front of you and that there is sufficient, and we're planning to do this year. And with the favorable bid results, it aligns with our estimates.
And also part of the process that we went through that's allowed us then to phase out those future projects. So instead of lumping multiple years together with bid projects or roof projects, we've been able to phase it out year after year logically to kind of spread those costs out as opposed to coming back at one time. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Yeah. Any questions or direction from the board?
Go with it.
All right, everyone comfortable with moving forward with the two?
All right, so we'll move forward with getting the contract underway, and then we'll bring that back to affirm the purchase at the next board meeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then,
Mayor, excuse
yeah.
me, before we move on item 17, we talked about boring on the southeast and west, but I think Jim also suggested, and I don't think we incorporated that in the direction, to also do on-site boring so that we actually are looking on the property. I think it was something that, did I misunderstand?
Yeah, I may have misdirected that. I said that after we've done our office due diligence and inform you of what the file reflects, we may be recommending.
Oh,
going
okay.
and do on-site borings.
Okay, I think,
That's what I said.
and I think the point is the bigger remediation cost if it's underneath the roads, like we talked about. So by doing a perimeter analysis, we should know, and they're staging it in a way that it wouldn't be like, oh, it just jumped over our holes. We're covering it, so we should know if it's permeated.
No problem. I wanted that clarity. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It could be expensive. So yeah, I don't blame you. That's the details, right? All right, and then Karen, we got you for one more. So holiday decorations.
Yeah, so the next item.
Roofs to holiday.
Roofs to holiday. All right, so I'm gonna pull up something here. So the next item we'd like to talk about is holiday decorations. Holidays are right around the corner, and I know staff has been looking at some different options and discussing things. We've been part of the Main Street meetings where we've heard from some of the businesses in that area that they'd like to see some different holiday decorations throughout town, and specifically along Main Street. We've heard feedbacks from the elected officials. We've heard feedback from our staff as well in terms of the putting up what we currently have and looking to do something different to enhance things. So with that, we've been working with several different vendors to see what some options are. and different locations. So I guess maybe what we'll talk about first is what we looked at in terms of locations. There's this location map that's up on the screen ahead of you. If I can get the mouse to work here a little bit. These are generally locations that we currently wrap the light poles. The current decorations consist of wrapping up a light pole with an existing light. While that light does show up at night, it really doesn't provide any visual experience during the day to decorate the downtown or the Main Street area. And we thought we could do better than that. So we've been working with a couple different vendors to look at options. And in the memo, in front of you are some of the options that we looked at. We looked at a variety of different things. We looked at wreaths, we looked at different, other bright decorative decorations, but where we kind of landed in looking at decorations is something that could last a little more than the short-term season. So some of the options in talking to other communities and then also working with these vendors, we're recommending potentially doing snowflakes with lit garland. These are all LED soft white lights that would accent well with the existing street lighting that we have out there that's also a soft white in color. We are looking at proposing different locations for the roadways. We're making this as a recommendation, and then at our Village Hall campus, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna zoom again, so bear with me for a minute if you get dizzy watching the screen. The other areas that are shown here in green circles are currently where we are recommending just wrapping with garlands. And I know that as part of our tree decorating program, they're looking at relocating the trees that are decorated by the community into the municipal campus as opposed throughout Main Street. So some of the things, like I said, that we were trying to focus on is something that would be aesthetically pleasing for a little bit longer season. Also product availability, like everything in the world supply chain right now, this is a product that is readily available. We would have it before this holiday season and also would be cost efficient in terms of LED as opposed to incandescent lighting. So from a cost standpoint, from electric service and stuff moving forward, it would be relatively inexpensive. In terms of installation, we're looking at village staff doing the installation and the storage of the materials. We have the available storage space and it's relatively easy to install. And also comes with a 6-year warranty on the products for the steel frames and then also 3 years for lighting. So it's a long-term product. The company that produces this is out of Oswego. So they're a local vendor if we ever have any issues in terms of replacement needs or assistance with anything. And so really the question for discussion is, is this something that we would like to consider moving forward? I know that there's been some conversations regarding funding of the project and potential donations that I think that David may be able to speak to. And then obviously location. So it's a matter of, is this the right time for this? If it is the right time, how much do we want to do? And do we want to phase this moving forward?
Yeah, and I think just to Karen's point, and I know I've spoken with everyone individually, I'll be able to secure confidently $10,000 to $12,000 annually for the next 3 years from 2 businesses that would be willing to sponsor it. And so we'd recognize them in publication to help, defray some of our costs. And also, since a lot of this is, at least in the first phase, the way we discussed it, focus on Main Street, we set aside money in our budget to do some Main Street marketing. Since this is some feedback from the community, we would dedicate some of those funds towards it, which was $5,000. And I think there's an opportunity to expand this beyond Main Street in the future. That's one of the things we chose this design because we can easily put these on light poles on Irving Park, on Lake Street, on other corridors. So I think if this is a direction the board would like to go in, we can phase this out, but this is because of Winterfest and other things, we get the most visibility and traction right off the bat for our money. So with that being the case, any questions or discussion from the board? Trustee Berkshire?
So the green and red dots, are those are the garland and the lights? And then just the green dots are?
So the green dots are just the garlands and there's actually a red bow that'll go to the top, and we didn't get a mock-up of that. The green with the red circle is relocating all of the trees that were previously decorated by the community. So it would still be the same concept of a garland up with a red bow, but then would have the trees at the bottom as well.
And part of that's because of outlet constraints. So that way we can light the trees and still have consistency, but then we're not overdoing it.
Next question about just the solid greens, is there any way we can, but it's because of probably electric there, why those just are.
No, those actually are lit as well. I think it was more the location of where Patty and I had talked about tree location and where she recommended that. Certainly we can expand. There's a couple trees that were left, and I know that was one of the conversations we had. If that program wanted to put those trees there, we could. We just
Yeah, we could put trees there so that all the green spots had trees, and we could decorate them ourselves if we didn't have enough community groups. In the past, they didn't like them in the back half of the village hall because they're not real visible. But we can certainly add those, and we will make sure they'll get decorated internally if nobody else steps forward. So.
No further questions, and I'm in agreement.
In agreement with, because I know there was,
Two prices.
yeah, do you want to do everything this year and just, and swallow the costs? Or do we want to do a phased approach where we do just Main Street from Roselle Road to Spring and then kind of do the center part another year? I'll let you ponder that. Trustee Prokowski.
Yeah.
Everything, might as well just do it, and we got warranties and last a few years and make it look all nice. And after everything the last year and a half, I think people could use a little bit of cheer, so might as well, and I'm sure it'll look beautiful.
Trustee Domke.
Yeah, I'd like to do the whole thing too. And then you said something about sponsorships, which kind of got me excited, because if this was to expand to go on these other areas, you'd probably.
You've got funds for next year, right?
Need sponsorship because we're not going to do this every year. And thank you, Bruce, for pointing out the red and the green dots, because I can't see them. Okay. They all look like the same color, but okay. The last thing, David, and I wanted to ask you this, there's been a lot of community groups asking for an uptick in our decorations for the Christmas time. And I know the Main Street merchants are some, and there's maybe a couple other organizations or even just people. Is this an adequate kind of decoration? I think they're beautiful. They're nice and simple. Will it be what our residents are expecting? Will it be more than? What is your feel for the community?
I have no idea how to answer that question, to be honest with you, but I think if you think about it in this example that we were provided with as a mock-up, that's a single pole. If you look at the map, the impact visually when you're going to be driving or walking down Main Street, even from Irving Park, it's going to light up. And I think before, to Karen's point, we really thought and took the feedback we had from the merchants in that area, going from just the string lights to the garland. You can see that during day or night. So that way you don't have a night only display. You have things that are visible night or day. So that way we get credit where deserved. And I think the other nice thing is these are, while winter themed, garland and snowflakes, we could have these up through January. And I'm not saying that we would do that necessarily, but you could.
March even, because it snows around.
It's something that can help make it look festive. And I think even the rebranding of the Cocoa Crawl to Winter Fest, not that Cocoa Crawl was very seasonally tied, but this, you could do events during January and February, which are normally slow times, and it still ties into a theme. I think this is I think people want to see it everywhere. We have to be realistic. I think the big eye opener for me is how expensive Christmas lights are. I don't think it's as easy as going to Home Depot. We have to get certain scale. So I think this is a way for us to get started. And to your point, I think the whole idea behind the sponsorship was that way we have private funds helping to fuel this going forward. So that way we're not allocating a lot of our funds every year towards this. We have some, get the momentum going, and then it can start to expand in an organic way. I think that would make residents happy.
I think once businesses see this up, you'll probably get more sponsors out of it.
So we can raise the price in 3 years, hopefully.
Get some other people involved as well.
Yeah. So hopefully that answered. We got feedback, but we didn't throw a lot of this out there because again, I think you want to make sure that we're socializing things that the board is behind. We didn't want to get people's hopes up.
Looks good.
Any other discussion points or?
Just a silly question, and truly is silly because I think I know the answer. I'm not adding the 53 and the 31. It's one or the other.
It's one or the other, yes.
I'm in for all locations.
Okay.
If you want to know a real shocking figure, you can get a animated train for that costs $64,000. So I think this is much better because we get blocks of decorations.
I'm all locations then.
Any other discussion? Everyone, so all right.
All right.
There's
so
your
we-
direction.
All right, we will make the purchase and come back and affirm the next.
And I know as a part of this, we were gonna make sure we have a lot of lights that we used to use that are perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with them. So we're gonna provide those to the park district. So that way they can be used in the community, especially at Turner Pond and stuff like that. So they've got a lot of life to them and there's those LEDs that we were putting up before in the poles. So there's quite a bit, so.
A lot of lights on the trees on Main Street. They have lights on the trees at Main Street.
Not that I recall recently. I know we are.
It's been an ask.
Yeah, and we'll continue to look at some of that stuff, but right now we wanted to focus on this for this season and we can always, add, there's always the ability to add and we have the capability to add in the future.
All right, you've got your direction.
All right, thank you.
All right, so that wraps up our new business. Is there any other business that the board would like to bring forward at this time?
Where are our chairs?
Where are our chairs, Jason?
I've been sinking for the last half hour.
So the last update was they should be delivered to BOS next week, and then they'll reach out about installation. So I'm hoping in the next couple weeks.
No, that was somebody.
We got tables. We got the new
Yeah,
tables. that hold
things
in
are
all.
coming in waves, but those ones should be here hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully by your next meeting. I'll
So
push for that.
trick or treat, maybe. We'll see.
Okay.
Any other business? All right, we have no executive session tonight, so is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We're adjourned at 7:59. Thank you so much.